Well, it was July 4th weekend. I had nothing to do and a 3-day weekend ahead of me. So, grabbed all my stuff, threw it in the truck, and I headed west, out of Denver.
Rolling fast down I-35, supersonic overdrive. Rolling fast down I-35, through the day and past the night.
I got out of town and headed out I-70. I was hoping to be able to make good time, but at the tunnel at Idaho Springs, construction had traffic backed up for about 2 or 3 hours. I finally was able to make it through and exit off on the Highway 40, headed out towards Winter Park.
Get ahead, going 109. Rolling fast down I-45. Bending time, feeling fine. Entrance song.
Headed up Highway 40 over Berthoud Pass, I got to see a couple of mountain goats. Pretty cool sight. Don't usually get to see these guys.
Rolling fast down 75. Empty road, moonlit sky.
I got through Winter Park and headed out through Granby. Then I headed north on 125. It wasn't long before I was out of the mountains, into the desert, and in wide open spaces. There's something fantastic about the Great American West. The vast expanses of space make you feel very small and cause you to remember your place in this world. Just being in this nameless place in the middle of nowhere made me feel alive. The air is different out here. The sage and alfalfa hay smell amazing and are a great reminder of why I moved to Colorado in the first place. Living in the city, even in Denver, you tend to lose connection with what the West is all about. So as often as possible, try to get out and reconnect to the great outdoors. I kept driving out 125 across the desert till I got to a place called Walden, Colorado. According to the sign, it's the moose viewing capital of Colorado. I don't know, doesn't look like moose territory to me.
And when you find a piece of him in your side, a fired will, don't you waste no time.
Not far north of Walden, there's a place called the North Sand Hills Recreation Area. basically a giant sandbox for people with sand rails and souped up side-by-sides to go drink beer and run around like idiots. I decided to go check it out, and it was pretty cool, but as capable as my truck is, I very quickly realized that I did not have the right tires and it was too heavy to play in this playground. So I decided to go ahead and leave it for another day. Not far north of the sand dunes is the Colorado-Wyoming border. I wasn't planning on coming this far north, but then again, not having a specific destination or anywhere in particular to go was kind of the point of this trip.
A soldier in the sky, with a drop of blood, trying to set.
About an hour north of the border, finally came to a little one-horse town called Encampment, Wyoming. Pretty nice little place, nice and quiet, not a whole lot going on. I went west out of town and didn't get very far before I turned south again on some little road I don't remember the name of, headed down south towards a place called Hog Park Reservoir. Now, Hog Park Reservoir is located about 60 miles north of Steamboat Springs, and I can see how at one point it used to be a really beautiful place, but due to the beetle kill that we've had over the past couple of years, this place has turned into pretty much a wasteland. I camped out just to the west of Hog Park Reservoir that night in what few live trees I could find in the area. Had a couple hot dogs and a Mountain House chicken and rice dinner, and went to bed about 9:30, about the time it got dark. Just to the east of Hog Park Reservoir, there was a sign that said, Steamboat Springs, 60 miles this way. So, the next morning when I got up, I ate breakfast, packed up everything, and headed down that road to see what was up. I kept traveling down this road for quite a ways. I'm not sure exactly when I crossed over into Colorado again, but it happened at some point. It was a nice smooth gravel road, and not a soul in sight. So, I decided to make some dust, put the pedal to the metal, and bawed it. But don't worry, I didn't pass up the opportunity to stop and take a picture of this little guy. That is a Western Tanager. Big thanks to my cousin Matt out in Virginia for the ID on that little guy. Okay, so I drove down to Steamboat Springs, and then I drove west to Craig, and then I drove south to Rifle, which is on I-70. At this point, everything was so dry, barren, desolate, I seriously needed to get back up in the mountains again. So I pulled out the map, started looking. Found this little road out through the middle of nowhere and nothing, and jumped on it, started heading south. This road snaked around through the lowlands for a while, but finally started to climb in elevation. I finally got back up into some aspen trees. I came around a corner and looked out over the meadow. Finally saw high peaks again. Felt pretty good. I linked up with Highway 133 and took it north to Carbondale. Then it went east to Basalt. Then it continued east up into the mountains towards Hagerman Pass. From Basalt, I followed the Frying Pan River towards Hagerman Pass, past Baretti Reservoir. I was back in familiar territory again, heading back to one of my favorite spots. Couldn't wait to get up to the top of Hagerman Pass again. I made it to the top of Hagerman Pass as it was getting pretty late that evening. Storm clouds were starting to roll in from the east. I was planning on camping out up here and then trying Mosquito Pass the next morning, but I didn't really feel like setting the tent up in the rain, so I went on down into Leadville and headed north to 70 and came on home back to Denver.